Okay. All right. So what we need first is our ruler and also our pencil. I'm also going to go a little bit down here like this. And okay. All right. So what we're going to do, so I'm going to just freehand this. But basically what we want is a little bit smaller than our 5.5 by 8.5 inch paper here. So if you're drawing from, oh yeah, I'm sorry. If you need a close up, good idea, Debbie. Let me do that. So if you want to take a, oops, sorry about that. If you want to take a picture of this, feel free to do so. I know Debbie likes to. I would like to also, if I were doing this from, an online video. It's nice to be able to pull it up on your computer or whatever device you're using. Okay. Let me know if you did not get that, and I can do it again. But basically, what we want, you're welcome, Debbie. So what we want is about the size that we're looking for is going to be, I kind of forget here because I'm using the smaller paper. So we're going to look for 4 inches across. It's a smaller one and 7 inches down. So 4 inches across and 7 inches down. So like I said, I'm just going to kind of eyeball it here, but take your time. Basically, you want to have at least an inch or two of a border. Now, again, if you're using a bigger paper, you'll have a bigger border. You can always cut it down. All right, I think I did sort of okay on the straightness. Almost. Okay. Okay, so after you draw your rectangle here, we are going to get started. And we are actually going to start in the bottom left corner of our paper here. And so we're going to start off with the snowflake. So we're going to look at this as the inside is sort of circular, and we want to kind of look at where the snowflake is on the paper in the sense of, so I'm going to look at the shape of this, and the main shape that I see is sort of sorry, somebody else is joining, is sort of like a cross. And it's like this. So it's not upwards, it's a little bit leaning a bit. Welcome. We're just getting started. And I'm going to put the information in the chat. We are recording, so if you wouldn't mind muting, but welcome. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to sort of make the shape of the snowflake. So again, I'm looking at it like basically this is about where the edge of it is going to end, right? It's not quite in the corner. This end kind of juts out past our border, right? And then this one goes up a little bit. So when you're looking at things in drawing, you always want to think about a shape that you can sort of correlate it to. Most basic shapes, circles, squares, rectangles, triangles, you kind of want to think along those lines. Ovals, that sort of thing. Or in this case, like I said, sort of like a T or a cross shape. Okay, so now that we have that, we're now going to start with the design of the snowflake. And so we're going to go back in the middle here. And all of your drawing should be very light because at the end, after we draw everything, we're going to go back in with our colored pencil. And so it should be easy to erase. Okay, so oh, I have somebody else coming in. All right, so now what we want to do is, again, go into the middle and we're going to make a circle because as you can see, there's a circular area. And welcome, we're recording. So it's nice to have you here. And I just put the information in the chat for you. Heavy rain, thunderstorms, possible flooding, and strong winds in California. And then I'm just going to mute you since we're recording, but it's great to have you. Okay, so we've got our cross shape here, and now we're going to start with the two longer areas. So remember, here's our circular area. So I'm going to now draw on either side of the straight line, and that's how we're going to create our snowflake shape. So we have a bit of a pointy, kind of like an arrow, right? And so you can sort of see now how you would get that shape. And now we're going to do it across as well, right? So we're going to repeat that shape. Now, I also like to tell people, especially people that are new, yours may not look like mine, and that is quite okay. We are not trying to duplicate it exactly. You're welcome to, but if it doesn't look like mine, it's okay. Oops, there go my pencils rolling from atop my desk here. Okay, so we have the two here. Now we also have longer ones on either side here from the T shape that we did. And if you like, you can create the long part of the snowflake first, and then go back and add the little shapes on the side, if that's easier for you. And then you can erase. So the other thing I forgot to mention is you might want to erase as you're going along so that you are able to see how thick your lines are. Because remember, we have 4 other shapes in between those lines. But you're going to keep going with those similar shapes, the longer shapes here for the rest. But you can see how we create this snowflake. And, you could create snowflakes like this and other things like this by just breaking down the shapes. I'm just fixing this one here. It's a little bit killywampus. Okay. And then finally, when you're ready, you can create the smaller shapes that are in between these 4 longer shapes. Like so. And just take your time. Do the best you can. This is supposed to be fun and relaxing. It's the end of the day. Hopefully you don't have anywhere else to go. And then you're going to take a look at the whole, the whole drawing and just adjust where you need to. You're also going to lightly erase inside the um, snowflake. Now, we do go back later on using our blue pencil, and we actually sort of make shading in the place of what we drew. So you're welcome to leave it, but it will have to at least be lightened up with your eraser because we'll be going in with blue colored pencil, and we don't want the pencil to be showing. Okay, I'm going to give you another minute or two if you want to fix your snowflake. Always trying to get it to be equal on the other side. It's harder than it looks, right? Okay. All right, so we have our snowflake here, and we're now going to go onward to the right side, the bottom right side, and we're going to make our berries and also the first leaf of the holly. And so what we're going to do is basically we have the berries over here, starting off kind of underneath and a little bit in back of the other shape of the snowflake. And so we'll make round circles for now. And some will be in back of others, right? So that we're kind of creating some visual interest here. We don't want all the blueberries to just be sort of in a line. That would be kind of boring. So that's why I made them like this. Right? So we're looking at circles. You can go back and add a little bit of the round top part of the berries, which is going to kind of look like so. I'm also going to go in a little bit closer now that we've started. Okay, so you want it to look something like that in that vicinity. And then we're going to create the first leaf. Yep, these are red holly berries. You got it, Michael. Even though they're going to be blue. You're also welcome to do this multicolored as well. Okay, so now we have our first leaf. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the inside of the leaf because of the curve, sort of the vein there. I'm going to use that to my advantage so that I know how the leaf, in what way the leaf is going. So I'm going to do it with this one and then with this one. Okay, so I'm going to take a look here. Again, I'm looking at the middle of the leaf. And here is my center point. So I'm doing it very lightly. And then I'm going to create. Oh, very nice, John Paul. Beautiful. Very nice. And now I'm creating the leaf. So I'm going to move my blueberries over just a little bit and also make my leaf a little bigger. It's not exactly like the original, but I'm kind of okay with that. I just said blueberries. I meant berries. The holly berries. They look like any kind of berry, but they are supposed to be holly berries. So I'm going to make my leaf a bit bigger. Okay, here's the stem. And then we have the other one coming over here. And so again, I'm going in the middle, right? Looking at the leaf in the middle. And I'm going to draw the vein because it's going to help me with how to create the shape of the leaf and also in which direction. And that's true of any leaves that you draw. Always look at the center of it, the vein, the main vein, because that'll help you distinguish how and what shape that you should draw your leaf in. Okay, so we have that. And now I'm going to lightly draw in, just like we did on the other one, the shape of the leaf, right? And so it's starting to break the border, right? We call that the border of our page or of our design here. Not worried about the other berries yet. And this is why we also draw lightly, because we end up erasing. And this is in order to help us get the correct shape of things. And then you can erase the border so that your leaf is in front. Okay. I promise the most difficult part of this is the drawing part. Once you have it drawn, you can go to town on the shading. I feel like it's so much fun. Okay, so if you notice, I didn't draw the insides of the leaves because we're going to be doing that with our colored pencils. All right, so moving forward here, we're now going to come back up over to the left side. So we're going to leave this alone for now. We're going to come back over to the left side and we're going to draw these berries that are still on part of, part of like the, not the tree, kind of like the vine. And so we're going to start here. So here is the one shape for that is sort of right near the section. And so now we know, again, to sort of go upward. Yep, there we are. I was going down a little bit too low. So I'm looking at sort of, the little stem here. And the way that this is going, right? So it almost looks like a little tree with branches. And so what we're going to do now is create those branches as lines for now. So kind of just how we did our snowflake. So we're going to use the lines so that we are able to go back and indicate and, draw a little more realistically where each of these separate ones should be. So it's going to look a little something like that. So here again, if yours looks a little different, it's okay. I'm going in a little bit closer here. Okay, so now we're going to go back and we're going to make it look more three-dimensional. So we do have a berry hanging off of here. And it's just by, a little part. So you can draw that and then draw the berry hanging off of it. So I'm making mine look darker so that you're able to see it on Zoom. But remember, you want yours, your drawing to be very light. Okay, and then I'm going to fill in each of the shapes and make them look more three-dimensional now that we know where they're coming from. So see how I did that? And then you just have to kind of go in and erase the line that was originally there. Now, if you think you can do it, by doing it three-dimensional to begin with, feel free to do that. This is just my process. And then again, we're going to be drawing berries on top. And we want our berries to be, in the front of the limbs. So
Could you start over for with the branches?
sure.
Yeah, I already got the branches, but how am I get the 3D?
Ah, so what you do is, so do you see how I made lines like this?
Yeah.
So then I create either next to it or
No, no, no. But the previous thing.
this one.
Yeah.
Okay. So this one, I had the line here. And so then I drew next to it like this.
Uh-huh.
See, I'm drawing it darker.
Uh-huh.
Yep. And this was the line. So I drew underneath it.
I need a little closer, please.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes. I think I do remember. Okay.
Perfect. Yeah, take your time.
Ooh, too
Kind
wide.
of looks like a hand now that I'm looking at it. And that's pretty much how we're going to draw the rest in the sense of we use the singular line for the shape that, we make sure that we have the right shape or how it's going in that direction.
Mhm.
And then we make it three-dimensional. I'm going to go a little closer actually with my camera here so that, excuse my fumbling around with my camera here. Okay.
Can you put can you put berries? I already put the berries right here.
Yep, you got it. And we've got a few more. We have one here.
Mm.
And then we're finally going to go up here, right? So I'm sketching and making, so there's sort of a leaf here. And then you see I'm sketching and making it look three-dimensional. And you join it all together, right? And we've got more berries. Okay, so I'm gonna mute you, John Paul, just so that it doesn't get picked up on recording.
I got already muted.
Oh, good. Okay, so we still have some berries here, right? So here's a berry here, right? And then we have another sort of another kind of, I call it a vine. It's not really a vine. It's more like a branch, right? And we have a berry there too. And I think I'm missing a berry. Let me see. One, two, three. Nope. Okay. You're welcome to draw more berries though. But that is the branch, right? And then we're going to continue upward. We're going to stay here on the left side because now what we have, I'm going to show this up close. So this section, again, if you just follow the lines, right? So I sort of made this up to look a little bit very similar to like, holly, but instead I used like branches, right? So again, we're going to follow the insides, right? The straight lines. So let's do that. Okay. So now, so that's going to come off of here, right? And so we're going to go upward and again, breaking the border. So this is what we're following, this one right here. And then you're going to start adding branches of different lengths because we're going to be adding berries to those and some leaves. We have sort of a separate one up here in the corner. Oops. I just realized I was kind of going off the page there. There we go. Move my camera. Okay. We have another separate one over here. Okay, so we're here. So again, if you don't get it in the right spot, it's okay. Basically, I did this to sort of fill up the drawing. So it should kind of look like a little tree. Okay, so we're going to start to add leaves and berries. So I'm going to add two more lines to this one. And starting up on this one, we're going to add a leaf like that. Basically, the shapes of your leaves are very similar to this. And you can add ones to fill in right next to it, but there are a few. And we're going to keep going. Here's another small leaf here that is sort of bent a little bit. We're going to stick right here on this section. We're going to make another leaf. So again, you want to kind of vary the size, and you can create ones that are sort of behind another leaf. So see, there's the middle there, and then I'm just making those shapes kind of on top or surrounding the line. We have a leaf right here that is sort of by itself. So it's kind of a wiggly shape with the line in the middle. That's this one. You know, if you're trying to follow along, you know, and make them exact, there's that one there. And then we'll go back and draw in the berries, but we're going to do the leaves first. So we're going to move on to this one here. And right at the top, we make our leaf, and then a smaller one, a really tiny one right next to it. And we're going to add two more right next to that. Yes, wiggly. Exactly, Michael. Wiggly little leaves. Go a little closer. Oops, sorry about that. Yes. So continuing on here, we're going to continue in this section here. We do have a leaf that's sort of coming out on this side. So I drew the line in the middle and then wiggly around it. You know, and you'll have to, you know, also make sure that you erase sections that kind of don't belong after you draw the leaf. We're going to go over to this one here, this small one, right? And we make sort of a small leaf there. And there's actually one behind it, like that. So I'm kind of pointing my pencil toward those two leaves. And then we're finally going to go up to this one, which is a much bigger leaf. And we have one more that we make that's sort of next to it, shaped like that. So again, we break the border and have to kind of erase the border inside there, inside the leaf. And then we have one more section, which is right here that we're actually going to draw. It's sort of floating a little bit. And we're going to make a line like this. And then two lines off of it. And then some wiggly leaves. And then we're going to fill in the rest with berries. Surprisingly, we're almost finished with this drawing. It takes a while, But if you go step by step and just, you know, use those shapes, it fills it in. Okay, let's add some berries now. So we're going to go back now and add some berries. So here's one. And so usually what I do is I have the longer areas, right? The longer section. And then I usually add like sort of an offshoot and then add a berry. And I usually do that for quite a few, right? So here's one and I add a berry. So these are tiny. These are smaller than the other berries. There's one here. And again, feel free to create ones to fill in, you know, your area here. So we're filling in some berries here. There's another one. Okay, and we're going to keep going here. So again, you know, I make sort of a line and then stick a berry on it. You know, and I usually put two berries kind of together, right near each other. So it looks more complicated than it is, but it's really just kind of filling out, you know, the shapes after you did the general shapes, right? So these are all just berries. And again, just a reminder to make these light because we're going to be, you know, if you're not, it's okay. We're going to be going back and erasing, or I should say lightening everything up. Okay, so there's a lot of berries kind of hanging out on these two here, right? So I'm making some lines again to hold those berries. And then sometimes I just kind of make a random one behind another one.
This thing was a little harder than I thought.
It's a little hard, I agree.
I can't even see it because I'm trying to listen to draw.
I bet it looks good. And it's okay if it doesn't look exactly like mine. I promise. Everyone's is probably going to be a little bit unique. It's a very detailed drawing. So here is another space here where I add two more little lines where I can add berries to. And then, like I said, sometimes I just add, you know, little round circles that are, you know, I figure the you know, you can kind of see the berries, but not the exact uh, you know, branch where it's on. So this is where we just go in and start to fill in with some berries. You can also go in and, you know, add some more leaves too. And that's our branch with all our berries. I'll give you some time to fill some more in. I'm actually going to make this a little bit closer so that you can see some more of the detail. Okay. All right, so we're going to move on to the pine cone. And here again, we're going to think a shape, right? So we're up here in the top right corner.
I got way behind.
Oh, wow, that looks amazing, though. That looks great.
Can you give me details for this leaves and berries?
Sure.
I
So,
need a little closer for camera.
so what you can do, oops, here we are. So again, it doesn't have to look exactly like mine, but you want to make sure to have enough leaves and enough berries so that you want to fill in this corner to make it look pretty good. So while you're working on that, I'm going to go a little bit closer so you're able to see. And we're going to start off or continue with creating in the corner here the pine cone, which is kind of a circle, right? So I'm going to, again, create that shape. I'm going to make my border a little bit, I'm going to extend my border a little bit. Because I don't want my pine cone to be completely over the border on the right. So again, I'm making a circle. And then it's not a perfect circle. And then I'm going to start making the round part, this part here, right here. And we're going to start creating the areas coming from there. So if you look at this shape, it's going to be a little more like a little bit longer with a top section like this. So I made like a cylinder like that, and then a top section like this. And now we're going to start making, it's going to look a little bit like almost like petals. And we're going to go around this space. We're also going to make those, petal-like shapes. Some of them we're going to make a little shorter and rounder as it goes around. But we're going to complete one rotation around this shape. And now we're going to build from there. So we're going to keep going around. So here we go here, right? So we're going to go around again, doing the same thing, making some of them a little bit longer. And we're going to get into the, really long ones, but for now, we go around. And I'm going to be running into my leaf here, so I'm going to remove my leaf. And you're going to keep going around until we fill in most of this area. So we go around again. Now some of them are going to be getting a bit longer, a little more almost rectangular. And then some look more like petals. And you're going to keep going. So it all depends on how big you want your pine cone. I think I want mine about this size. I like the size that I created. But if you want yours a little smaller or a little bigger, then you're just going to keep doing what you're doing, right? And going around. But the sections get a little more longer and more um, rectangular, or yeah, rectangular. Having problems with my shapes tonight. I keep wanting to say triangular. I don't know why. I haven't used any triangles today. Okay, so I'm kind of starting to finish mine off here with some areas that are hidden behind the other sections. And then when I'm done, I'm going to go back in and erase my circle, right, that I used as a template for the shape. So depending on my shape, maybe I want, maybe I don't want it as round. I'm going to add a few more areas here. But there's your pine cone. And we're coming up to the last part before we actually just start coloring and doing some shading. All right, I'm going to go up a little bit here. All right, we are in the last section of the drawing now. And so now we're going to draw our poinsettia. And remember, we're going to do the same thing with the leaves, just like we did down here and with all these other leaves. Well, we didn't really do it with these leaves. We did go in the middle. So we're going to start off. Here's the first leaf, right? So we're going to sort of go in the middle.
What do you
And
think?
oh, it's beautiful. Very nice. I can't wait to
I,
see it when it's done.
well, I just need a little bit more after this.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. So here's the center, right, of our leaf. And then started to draw the shape, right, the wiggliness. And after that, coming over here and doing a little more of the shape and the center. And we have a berry connected. So we have some more shapes here. I'm going to move down my pointed part of the snowflake here a little bit.
How is it even possible? Uh,
So we have these three shapes. And then we have two leaves behind here. So we are going to just create those shapes. There's one. There's another one. And I'm going to add some more berry area right here. Another vine to fill in since it's a little bit different than my original. So I want to fill that in. We do have some berries over here in the background as well, kind of coming off of, well, actually really just one, like one section here coming off of our, near our pine cone. So that's the curve of it. So see what I did there? I made a curve and then I added some berries, 3 berries to be exact in this area. We're going to come back down here now and create more of the leaves. So this is the outside of one leaf. And I'll draw the middle section so you can see that it is a leaf. And we're going to have some berries in the middle, kind of stacked. We have a berry that has a bit of a, it's kind of off of a little vine here. So there's the line for that. And then we have another berry kind of right next to it where you don't see the vine. All right, and now we're going to draw another leaf on this side. So it's a smaller one, smaller and kind of pointy here. There's the line in the middle. And then we have another leaf. Again, so this is the middle part of the leaf because I want it to go and break the border on the right side. And then I draw the curved part of it. And we're going to have another big one that I'm drawing the shape of. And we have a whole not a whole bunch, but a few others that are now going to be in this section. And so we have these two big ones here, right? Now we have a small one that's sort of floating here. So it's going to be shaped a little bit like this, kind of like a teardrop, almost. And from there, we have another one that's breaking the border. Again, it's teardropped, but it's a little bigger. And we have another one that's also breaking the border underneath. Oops. And then we have a big one here on the left side. There's the shape of it. And the line. We have some berries happening over here on the left side. And so we make sort of a line coming from this leaf. It's not really coming from it, but it looks like it. And then we make three berries. There's one that is sort of behind. The one next to it is in front of it. And then we finally make one kind of on the bottom up to finish out, the two. And then we have three berries over here on the right side. So I'm going to expand my leaf a little bit. I didn't really make it big enough. There we go. And then we have three berries here on the side, breaking the border. I'm going to make those darker so you can see them. And then in between, we have a few more leaves over here to kind of fill in this area. So you can make some more leaves. And I forgot we do have this one right here that is a little more angular, like that. It's kind of tucked in between all of these. And that's our drawing, which we now get to lighten up a little bit with an eraser.
I got way behind. I need
That's
your.
a, oh, wow. That looks beautiful. You know what? You can still go in and draw other sections with your blue pencil and like make it up. It's okay to do that with this drawing. But our next step is going to be lightening, making the pencil lighter. because we're now going to be going in with our blue pencil to finish it off. So you're going to see that my lines are getting very light or a bit lighter. I'm not going to erase them as light as I normally would. But you're going to grab your blue. Okay, and so you're first going to outline the drawing with the border. So you're going to go over the border, the rectangular border in blue. Right? So you're going to go going in between some of these lines. And then the next thing you're going to do is you're now going to outline everything in your blue. So next order of business, we are now going over all of our lines in blue. So all of the leaves, all of the berries, you know, in the middle of the leaves, right? Everything that you drew, you're going to go over it in blue. Now, if you can still see your pencil, that's okay, because we're going to do one more erase. Pencil will come up. It will erase, for the most part, underneath your blue pencil. This is also a time, if you want to fill in other areas, you can do that. You can draw in more berries. You can draw in more leaves if you want. You can really make this your own. So this part takes a while, but you already have it drawn. And so now we're just going to shade when we're finished drawing it. It should already start looking a little more wintry now by using your blue. Obviously, the most detailed part is really all these little leaves and berries over on the left side. We're all concentrating. Aren't you glad this part is over? That you're just tracing it for the most part. Okay. So what I'm doing now is I'm just erasing away my pencil marks. It also helps me see if I've left any parts out that I needed to go over with the blue. And when you're finished drawing everything in the blue, you want to erase away the pencil. And you probably want to sharpen your blue pencil when you're ready to, as we are going to start the shading.
Could you show me about this again?
Sure. Let me see. Is that the yes. So let's see, where did my blue go? Okay. So
Hmm.
this part, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So you're gonna first make lines,
Uh-huh.
straight line, and then little lines off of it. So it's gonna kind of look like, I turned it over to show you.
Hmm.
So there's gonna be a lot, like almost like a tree with branches.
Yeah, I got it. I got it all right.
Yep, you got it. And then you're gonna add, see how
Mm-hmm.
I add that. Kind of fill it in.
Okay, okay, all right.
And once you do that, you're going to add berries. So then you're going to add other small little lines like this. See those two little lines? And you can make a bunch of little lines. It all depends on how many berries you want. And then you're going to make round circles for the berries. Does that make more sense?
Yeah.
Yay! And you're going to fill that in that, in this section. However, everyone's will be a little bit different because it might be,
A lot.
oh yeah. Oh, perfect.
I could
Love
use a
it.
blue.
Nice. Yep. Yeah. So now we want to get into our blue. Um, I just broke mine, so I have to go get my another one over here.
It's okay. You don't have to show it like this.
Looks great.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
Oh, I get it.
the blue. So the first thing we're going to do after we now outlined
Mhm.
is we're now going to shade the background around our drawing. And we're going to shade kind of lightly, right? So we're filling in what we just did around it with blue. So we're thinking about, it is a rectangle, right? So we go
Cool.
around the berries. Yep. So we've already outlined everything. And now we just have to very lightly shade in the background. There are certain sections where we're going to make it a little bit darker, but for now, we shade around all the lines that we did. And sometimes I like to go back and maybe make something a little darker, but we don't have to at this point because we'll be going back, um, and making a few areas of lines a little bit darker, but we're gonna shade everything first. So you see how that's starting to kind of come together in that your background is blue. So shading around your leaves, behind your berries. So at this point, it's sort of like a coloring book until we get, to shade inside. It's still a little bit like a coloring book, but we'll be going a little bit darker in sections. So I like to shade a little darker in the corners, each of the four corners, but especially here on the bottom left. Um, just a little bit darker, not a whole lot. Once you start shading inside the elements, you're also going to feel like there's going to be certain lines that you're going to want to make darker so that they stand out a little more. And just take your time around each of the sections, remembering that your border is rectangular. It should really start to look like it's coming together now with even just the background done. And when you're ready, you can start to make some lines a little bit darker um, on the side of the background. So what I mean is I'm kind of doing that right here. And then almost like making a shadow with my shading. I don't do it around everything, but I do it on the left side and sort of right around the snowflake. So again, this is just shading, but going around with my pencil, almost like I'm, redrawing it a little bit, but kind of making a shaded line around everything. And your drawing should really start to becoming um, looking very detailed at this point with all of our line work and our outside shading. So what we're really doing is we're just emphasizing certain areas, but mostly kind of like the outside of each object, kind of going around one more time, making your lines a little darker, but they're like shaded darker. It's like you're making a line, but you're also shading it at the same time so that it looks like it has a bit of a shadow.
The wood is burning.
Our finishing touches are coming up. You can look over it and, you can make darker some of your lines. But at this point, we're going to start shading inside the areas. And so I like to start with the snowflake. And so inside the snowflake, start to make forms that are very light, almost like I'm redrawing them, and then shading very lightly in each of those forms. So for this one, right in the center, I draw a very light circle and I shade it. And then each of the other areas, I draw lines too, but I'm making shaded lines in the shape of each of the sections. So like I'll draw a line here and then I'll make it thicker with using shading. Now here again, you're welcome to get creative. And if you want to do it a different way or um, yeah, if you want to do it a different way, you can. But this is how I did this. Again, I make a line first as if I'm redrawing the shape inside, and then I shade it. At least for the snowflake. With the berries, I shade in the middle. So basically, kind of at the top of the opening of each berry. So here would be an opening, sort of. And then I shade a little bit. You can shade just a little on each side of the berry. No, those are the bigger berries. The little berries, I didn't shade. I just kind of, maybe re-outline them. But the bigger berries, I shade pretty much at the top, or it should be, I guess, really the center. It's the top, technically. You can shade a little bit, around the berry inside. Give it a little, a real quick kind of sprinkling of your colored pencil, maybe just a line or, just to add a little bit of color. And that's pretty much what I also do for the pine cone, except that I make it darker in the center of the pine cone opening here. But other than that, on each kind of petal area, I shade in the middle of it, kind of coming from the center, if that makes sense. So I'm going to go up really close and show you. So see, almost like I'm making a petal and doing just a little bit of shading in the center of each one. Sometimes, especially as we get into the back ones here, I shade a little bit behind because there would be some shading from the section that is laying kind of on top of it. This is, again, is for the pine cone. And that's just a real quick kind of scribble on each section. Now our leaves are the most shaded. The leaves for the poinsettias, because we add light lines coming from the center part. And then I just add a little bit of shading. So I'll show you what that looks like. So kind of like branches, right? We kind of add like little lines from the center line. And these are the veins. So we add veins first and then add some shading after. And I do like to shade a little bit more of the berries on the in the poinsettia area. And where I do most of the shading on the leaves is kind of in the center of each leaf. But when it starts, where it meets the other leaves. So you can see I'm kind of going over each leaf here, adding a little bit of some shading and some line work, but a real light, some real light shading. And then I like to add some light lines to the bigger leaves. Squiggly lines. And always some shading in the pointy part of the poinsettias. I'll give a few more minutes. I can't wait to see what these look like. Put on your finishing touches to these. And you should already be proud of yourself. Oh, wow, Michael. That looks amazing. Oh my goodness. I'm going to stop the recording so that